And that's the end of the first half. As the teams head to the locker room, the Spartans lead the Bulldogs by a score.
You guys stink.
Geez, Coach, we're only down a couple of points.
No, I mean you guys really smell. You need to hit the showers. And here, I got every one of you new bars of soap from the Sterling Soap Company. Each bar is artisan crafted using natural ingredients and essential oils. They also have shave soaps, colognes, beard balm, and a whole lot more. Now get in there.
But Coach, we have another half to play.
I don't care. I can't stand to be around you.
A few minutes later.
All right, bring it in tight. You guys are still playing terrible, but you're smelling great out there. Now listen, you're going to need to stock up for the rest of the season. We got a lot of tough games left. So go to sterlingsoap.com after the game. That's STIRLING soap.com. You got that?
Yes, Coach.
Great. Sterlingsoap.com on 3. 1, 2, 3. Sterlingsoap.com.
This podcast is part of the Sports History Network, your headquarters for the yesteryear of your favorite sport. You can learn more at sportshistorynetwork.com.
Hello, sports fans, and welcome to another edition of Yesterday's Sports on the Sports History Network. Today we'll have part 2. I'll be joined once again by my friend Dave DiPaolo, and we'll continue our discussion on the Pro Football Hall of Fame. All right, I got 5 more guys that had to wait.
Go ahead.
I got Tom Mack, offensive guard for the Rams. Tom Mack. Guy went to 11 Pro Bowls. Waited 15 years.
That's insane.
He was eligible in 1984. He didn't get in until 1999. 11 Pro Bowls.
Insane.
His teammate on the defensive side of the ball, defensive end Jack Youngblood. 7 straight Pro Bowls. 5 All-Pro. 5 times All-Pro. 1990, he became eligible. Didn't get in till 11 years later. Okay, we got another defensive end, Carl Eller. 9-time first or second team All-NFL. Became eligible in 1985. He didn't get in till 2004. Okay, I got 2 more guys. Harry Carson, middle linebacker for the Giants. 9 Pro Bowls. Became eligible in 1994. Didn't get in till 12 years later. And the final guy is more recent. I forget if he was middle linebacker or outside. I think he was a middle linebacker. Randy Gradishar. Went to 7 Pro Bowls. 1978 NFL Defensive Player of the Year. He had to wait 25 years. 1989, he was eligible. He waited 25 years to get in.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I think I was there for Harry Carson. I think he got in with Aikman and Rayfield Wright.
Uh-huh.
I think he got in that 2006.
Yeah.
I think it was.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
Yep, 2006.
But listen, all this stuff that we're talking about, I think anybody under the age of 40 wouldn't even really be able to relate to it.
No.
You know what I mean?
Unless they're really a football historian. They don't get it.
Because everything's instantaneous today. They want everything instantly.
That's
Their
it.
computer's not reacting fast enough. The phone doesn't work quick enough. All this other garbage that they're talking about.
Yeah.
Oh, he's a first ballot. Listen, I talked about Eli Manning before and how polarizing the process is. The same thing happened. I stumbled upon a little older show with Jason Whitlock, who I kind of like. He's still on, but at this time I think he was on ESPN. And Colin Cowherd was his guest, and there were 2 former players as guests, Eric Davis for the 49ers and Ray Lewis. And they were talking about Jason Witten because his career was winding down. I think he was still playing, but he I don't know. There was a year he took off and then he came back for 2 years. I'm not sure exactly, but I think the show was from 2017. And they said, is Jason Witten a Hall of Famer? And they were looking at his stats. And at the time, he wasn't where he is now. He played 2 more years. and they were saying the two players, because they played. Eric Davis made a great point, but Whitlock was like, I don't consider him. He was basically calling him a compiler. He was steady for a long period of time, very steady. Right. He piled up the stats, and whatchamacallit thought he was a little better than that, Colin Cowherd, but he still wasn't sold on it, I don't think.
Right.
And Eric Davis said, look, they were talking about, Whitlock brought up the fact that he only had, at the time, 63 touchdowns. I think he retired with 70-something touchdowns. But he said, look at Tony Gonzalez, 111 touchdowns. Antonio Gates, 111 touchdowns. And Ray Lewis says, yeah, but Jason Witten, they kept him in for max protection a lot of times. He wasn't even down. A lot of his touchdowns are from further out because on the goal line, he wasn't even running routes.
That's right.
Because he was a very good blocker. See, and then he says, Ray Lewis, hey, look, he ran a Y pattern, Jason Garrett used to talk about it. He was the greatest in his position to run this Y where you could go inside or outside. It was just a little turnaround. And Ray Lewis said you couldn't cover him. This is Ray Lewis saying this.
Right.
Okay. He was hard to cover in that small space that he occupied.
Yeah.
He was great at boxing guys out. And even Eric Davis said, listen, not too many guys played longer with that consistency. Once again, that counts for something. He's the second in receptions and the second in yardage of all tight ends that ever played.
Right.
How do you? He's on the ballot this year. He may not get in as a first ballot. I think he's good enough to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. I think he's qualified. Me personally, not because he's a Cowboy, but because like I said, he's second at his position in those two categories of all time.
Yeah,
it's that simple.
And like like you said before, there's too many people that all they want to do is look at the numbers and look at the stats, and the blocking gets overlooked. Look at the two guys I named, Mike Ditka and John Mackey, two of the greatest blocking tight ends ever, and they didn't use the tight end nearly as much as they use them today for pass reception. But these guys.
I'll go over, Mark. We already talked about the five guys earlier and two of them we know are not getting in, and three of them, Roger Craig is getting in. So we know the fate of three of those five. We know about Elsie Greenwood. We'll find out tonight. Tonight is when it comes up.
Oh, I didn't.
And we'll find out about Kenny Anderson. But the other 15 guys. The 15 finalists were, I'm going to be honest with you, Mark, and I follow football quite a bit because of fantasy football, so I'm looking at a lot of different teams. There were 3 or 4 guys on that list who are deserving to get into the Hall of Fame. I've never heard of them.
Wow.
Never heard of them before this week. One of them was a guy named, he had an odd name. Marshall Yanda. He was a guard and a tackle for the Baltimore Ravens from 2007 to 2019. He's got very good stats. I looked him up. And there was a couple other guys. Jahri Evans, who I've heard of, he was a guard for the Saints, and he played with the Packers at the end. He played from 2006 to 2016. Willie Anderson, he was a defensive tackle. Kevin Williams. He was a defensive tackle for the Minnesota Vikings, Seahawks, and Saints. He played along 2003 to 2013. All these guys, they had a lot of all-pro seasons. They had a lot of Pro Bowls. And Willie Anderson, who was an offensive tackle for the Bengals and the Ravens. Those were 4 guys you don't hear a lot of. You don't really know. I'm like, the names were not familiar. Willie, the guy for the Vikings was, but the rest of them And so when you go down and you look at their years of eligibility, they broke it down. So of these guys that are on the list right now, of the 15, Anderson has been 5 times has made it to this. You get put on that list. You become eligible the following year if you become a finalist.
Right.
And you've received at least 4 votes. Then you become eligible the following year again. So Willie Anderson this is his 5th time. Jahri Evans, 3rd time. Okay. Kevin Williams, this is his 1st time. And the other guy, Yanda, 2nd time. Okay. But of all the guys that are on the list now, it's getting to the point where some of them are going to be off the list soon. And that's going to be Darren Woodson. Darren Woodson's near the end. It'll be 25 years for him. His eligibility started 5 years after he retired. And now it's coming up to almost, I think 3 more years will be 25. But if you look at this is where the problem lies. If you look at the first year finalists, this is their first year. You got Drew Brees. He's going to get in. There's no doubt about it. He's getting in his first time. It's hard to think that he wouldn't. Frank Gore. Here's an interesting guy. I think I'm not 100% sure. Don't quote me on it. I think he's 3rd in rushing all time. I think behind Emmitt Smith and what's his name?
Sanders.
I'm thinking to myself, no, Peyton. I think Walter Payton.
Oh,
I think Sanders never caught him. Yeah, and I'm thinking he's piled up, Mark, 16,000 yards of rushing.
Wow.
16,000. Okay, and to boot, another 4,000 yards in receiving. The guy played 16 years at the running back position.
It's a lot of years.
16 years.
For a running back.
It's almost unheard of.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. And I looked at his games. This guy, in his first season, he only started 1 game out of 14. But if you look at his totals, he played in 241 games. He started 218 of them. I'm looking down the line right now. 16 out of 16, 15 out of 15, 14 out of 14, 11 out of 11, 16 out of 16, 16 out of 16, the next 6 years. 1 year in 2011, 15 out of 16. This guy, I'll say it again. I don't care. It's not compiling. Not in football. It's not. I'm sorry.
No.
So whether he gets in or not, they're gonna have to pass up. They're gonna have to pass up on at least one of these guys that I'm mentioning because they're gonna have to get one of these other guys in. And so of the first year guys, it's Brees, it's Frank Gore, then you got Larry Fitzgerald. I can't see them passing up on him. I looked at his stats. I mean, this guy's unbelievable. You know, his stats are, he's one of the greatest of all time to play that position. The problem is, because of the passing game today, all these receivers have phenomenal stats.
Yep.
You got Torry Holt now, who played with the Rams on that greatest show on turf.
Right.
He's now in his 7th time. He's in his 7th time now on this list, and so is Reggie Wayne from the Colts. Yeah. These guys have tremendous statistics. And Fitzgerald has no Super Bowls, obviously. Wayne has 1. But Fitzgerald did play. And so Wayne, I think, played in 2, I think. I'm not sure. But both of those guys, this is their 7th year now. They're at this waiting. And so I think one of those guys are going to get in. The other 2 first-timers are Kevin Williams, the defensive lineman we talked about, and Jason Witten, who we already talked about. So those are your first-year ballot guys. Brees, Fitzgerald, Gore, Williams, and Witten.
Right.
And they're only going to take 8 guys. Okay? And if Roger Craig's getting in already, we know him. Now you're down to 7. So, I mean, the other guys being mentioned, Luke Kuechly's back on the list. Eli Manning's back on the list. Terrell Suggs is back on it.
Right.
Adam Vinatieri's back on it. He deserves to get in, by the way. I mean, they all deserve to get in if you look at all their but the problem is you've got 50. There it is again. You're only getting in so many.
Yeah, and I know there's probably a lot of people that think it should be 8 is the limit, right? They can't let in more than 8. I know there's people
well,
that
they made it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they made an exception, Mark, for they made an exception in that 100-year anniversary.
2020.
They caught up on some of the older players. They did do that. But yes, correct. Go ahead with your point with the 8 guys. Yeah.
Yeah, 2020, I don't know. At first I thought it was good, but they kind of opened the floodgates. Maybe they went they went from one extreme to another, you know. In 2020, They let in about 20 guys. But anyway, you got a limit of 8, and I know there's a lot of people that think it should be more than 8, but you have to, I mean, you can't just let everybody in. Otherwise, what's special about it anymore? If you're letting players that are, that were not dominant players, now what's special about getting in it's not special anymore. So I think 8. And I think years ago it was even less than 8. I think years ago it was only 6. 6 was the limit. But, you just can't, I hear people, I belong to a lot of these football groups, and I hear some of the names come, this guy should be in, that guy should be in, this guy. Well, come on, you can't let everybody in. Otherwise, it's not special anymore. And I think maybe sometimes, like you were saying earlier, now it's like such a big deal where years ago, 40 years ago, a guy got in the Hall of Fame. They didn't, make as big of a deal, or somebody that didn't get in. It wasn't like the crime of the century. Now, a guy doesn't get in, and they go crazy. They're going crazy because a certain guy.
You said it, Mark. The press.
Yes, the media. Media coverage, 24 a day coverage, sports radio, all these sports shows on TV. It's 24-hour coverage, so they run out of things to talk about, so they have to talk about something, right? They're gonna.
Yes. When you talk about years of eligibility, don't forget you got to be out for 5 years.
That's right.
So when you get to your 20th year of eligibility, it's over, because now you're out 25 years, really.
Yeah.
Okay, you're not eligible for the first 5, so you have a 20-year span. After that, you become a senior. We talked about it before.
Right.
And so when I looked at this list of the guys getting in tonight, that are both supposed to get in tonight,
yeah,
Darren Woodson's in his 18th year of eligibility. He's only got 2 more years left. And Willie Anderson, the guy we talked about, the lineman, he's in his 13th year, and Torry Holt's in their 12th. His 12th, I'm sorry. So those are the 3 that are into the double digits.
Right.
And I looked at these guys, and I looked at this Jahri Evans, okay? This is his 4th year of eligibility, 3 times as a finalist, played with the Saints 2006 to 2016. This guy was a 4-time All-Pro. That's pretty good, 4 times. All-Pro. And he won a Super Bowl with the Saints, and he's named to their anniversary teams. He's an all-NFL, he's an all-decade player of the 2010s.
Right.
When you start getting into that, all-decade, being an all-decade player, that's a pretty good feather in your cap.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, what do you think of that just that one, what do you think of an all-decade player? Most of the guys from the past teams, Mark, almost all of them are in now.
Most of them, yeah.
The 70s and the 80s go look at the 70s and 80 all-decade teams.
That's right.
95% of those guys are in.
Yeah. Now, out of the eight guys that can get in, I think, if I'm not mistaken, 2 of them have to be senior members.
Okay.
I think.
Then
it seems like every year there's at least two senior members that get in. And I think...
Yeah. Or that group of 5. In other words, a coach and a senior member, or a contributor and a senior member. If Kraft got in and Roger Craig got in, that would be it from that list.
Right.
That's how that works. You're right.
Yep.
That's correct.
So Maybe.
Yeah. Well, we know Eli Manning got snubbed again. That's been in the news, so he's not getting in again this year.
Okay.
He's been ruled out.
Yeah, and they'll make a big deal of it. There'll be people making a big deal of it, but hey, he's gonna get in. He's got to wait his turn. That's it. He's got to wait his turn. Just like these guys that I mentioned. I mentioned 16 players, and I could name a lot more. I had to really narrow this list down. I could have kept going, but this is 16 guys I named that waited a long time to get in, and some of these guys were on the 75th and 100th anniversary team, and they still couldn't get in right away.
Like this, I'm looking at this Kevin Williams, this lineman that was for the Vikings. Most of his career a lot of it was with the Vikings. This is his 6th year of eligibility, so he's got other years, but he's a guy. I mean, I'm looking at his specs. You know, I'm not talking, like you said, you got to watch the guy, but I remember watching him play as well. He's got 63. He's an inside. He was an inside player. He remained a defensive tackle for quite some time. He did play a little defensive end. He doesn't have a ton of sacks. He's got 63 sacks. He's got a lot of tackles for losses. He's got 113 tackles for losses. He's got some forced fumbles, 9 fumble recoveries. He was 6-team pro, but he was first team All-Pro 5 times. That's pretty good.
Right.
When you start getting, that's over a third of your career. Listen, the guys that are first ballot Hall of Famers, you take guys like Bob Lilly, who were, they're 9 and 10 time All-Pro players. Randy White was 8 or 9, I think, All-Pro. When you get into that, Merlin Olsen, okay, when you start getting into that, those are elite players.
Yeah, you don't even have to think.
They talked about breaking the Hall of Fame down. Deion Sanders mentioned it, about breaking it into levels. See, but then you can't do that, because that kind of diminishes the other guys that are in. Maybe not their first belt, but it doesn't matter. They're in.
Right.
You can't really break it down to levels, right? It's not really fair, right?
Right. Now, this guy you were talking about that played for the Vikings, I think this is the guy. I think this is the guy that Paul Zimmerman spoke about, who used to be. Well, he's passed on now, but he was a Hall of Fame committee member for many, many years, and I always respected his opinion because he was very knowledgeable on football history. I think that's the guy he spoke about with the Vikings. Too many people, they want to look at, how many sacks did he have? But they don't look at this was from Paul Zimmerman. They don't look at the fact that this guy's taken up 2 and 3 blockers so that his teammates can get the sacks. He's not going to get a lot of sacks because his job is to take up those blockers. Guys occupying 2 or 3 blockers on every play. They don't see that.
Yes.
It's overlooked.
Of those 4 guys that were a little, kind of new to me, he actually has the best credentials. If you look at, as far as, he's got all pros, 10 sacks his rookie season, 15 for losses. All of these guys that are on this list, Anna Vinatieri deserves to get in. He made some of the best. Some of those kicks he made. Yeah. That one in the snow game there, the tuck rule game. Yeah, that was a tremendous kick in the snow.
Yeah, it sure was.
To put them into the Super Bowl.
That's a clutch kick.
He's a member of the NFL all-time 100 team. Vinatieri.
Yep.
100.
The kicker that I always thought, I think he did finally get in, but during the time I was watching football, one kicker I thought that was just tremendous was Morton Anderson.
Yeah, he got in, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Morton, I'm glad to hear he got in because he was tremendous. He was the only kicker I ever remember that almost all of his field goals, they went right down the middle. It wasn't like it was close to hitting the goalpost, you know. They were like right down the middle.
Yeah, no, he was pretty clutch. I think he got in 2017, Mark.
Okay.
Morton Anderson. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure. You know, you lose track of these things after you get over. But yeah, I think it was 2017. He played. I think he played, Mark, 25 years.
Oh my goodness.
If I'm not mistaken, I'll look him up in a second. But I think he played 25 years, Morton Anderson. It was some incredible amount of years. He played with the Saints, and then I think he ended up with the Falcons.
Yeah.
I think something like that.
That's like George Blanda played till he was 50. Yeah.
Yeah. At the time when he got in, he held the record for most games played, regular season games, like 380 something games, and he also held the record. He was the all-time leading scorer. I think he might still be. I know he was when he got in. So that's 9 years ago.
Yeah.
But I think he still is. And at the time, I think he was only behind Jan Stenerud as the only pure kickers to be in the Hall of Fame. I think.
Yep, that's true. I'll give you two guys.
Yeah.
that, and this is coming from someone that thinks they let too many people in. I'm one of those people that thinks, you have to be a dominant player to get in the Hall of Fame. And I think they've let some guys in that I don't really consider dominant. I'm not going to name who, but I think there are some players in the Hall of Fame that were not really dominant players. But I've got two guys that I wonder why they're not in. One is Otis Taylor, the wide receiver for the Chiefs. I don't think there was a receiver in the old AFL that was more feared than Otis Taylor. And again, overlooked because he was probably the best blocking wide receiver in the league. He was probably the best blocking. The guy was huge for that time for a receiver. I think he was like 6'3", 220, 225. He gets overlooked.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a guy. Well, there's one funny story about Otis Taylor to show you how tough he was also. You remember the defensive end for the Raiders with the handlebar mustache, Ben
Davidson, yes.
That's right. He
started a couple of big fights with the Chiefs.
Right. He was widely recognized as a cheap shot artist.
Right.
Yeah, but that's the way the game was then. But the Chiefs and Raiders didn't like each other. And Ben Davidson hit Lenny Dawson this was like way after he threw the ball. This wasn't just a late hit. It was a really late hit. And Otis Taylor chased Ben Davidson down the field and threw him down to the ground, and he started fighting. And
I think that was one of those big brawls.
That's right. Yep, it was a big brawl.
It was one of those big brawls. It was a bench clearing brawl, that fight.
That's right. That's right.
Look, I pulled Otis Taylor up here. The last time he was a semifinalist was in 2023. Okay? And according to this, and it says representing a long overdue serious consideration in the senior category.
Yeah.
One of the biggest snubs in NFL history. Okay? And you're right, but that was the last time he didn't make the final cut. That was the last time he did make it.
Right.
From 25. They went from 25 to 12, and he that was the last time he got down to the 12.
Yep. There's a guy.
I think it's a disgrace.
There's a guy that's a finalist this year. We'll find out tonight, like you said. That I think is deserving. He gets overlooked because of the team that he played on and some of the names that were surrounding him. And I'm talking about defensive end for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yes.
And you and I, you and I don't have any love for the Pittsburgh Steelers for obvious reasons. Because they beat our Cowboys. But L.C. Greenwood, I think, should get in because you look at those Super Bowls, the 4 Super Bowls, just look at the 2 against the Cowboys. It seemed like on every time Staubach dropped back to pass, L.C. Greenwood was in his face.
Yeah. I looked him up last night, and I jotted it down because I wasn't sure on L.C. Greenwood, and I jotted it down in the notes. He had he was 2-time All-Pro. He's all 70s team, by the way, and he was a 4-time Super Bowl champion, which helps. He was a 6-time Pro Bowler when the Pro Bowler meant something.
Right.
Okay. So it was all pros. We're kind of low, just only 2. But you know something? He played 13 years, started 135 out of 170 games. That's pretty good. And he had 78 sacks.
Right.
I think the Super Bowls help him a lot in this particular case. But I think he will probably he may get in this time. I'm not 100% sure, but you would think he might.
I'm pulling for him.
Yeah. So am I.
I think it's just the case with him. Even the fact that he only had 2 All-Pro, I think a lot of that has to do with just look at the names he was surrounded by. Joe Green, Jack Lambert, Jack Ham, Mel Blount. So it's easy to get overlooked when you're playing on the same team as those guys. But you look at the look at the 4 Super Bowls that he played in. He played tremendous in all 4 of those games.
Yes.
I thought
exactly.
I thought Super Bowl 10 he might have even deserved the MVP if it wasn't for those circus catches that Lynn Swann made. He might have got MVP.
Yeah, I think they had 6 or 8 sacks, the Steelers, in that game. I can't remember, Mark, what against Staubach.
Yeah, they really.
Who was not the easiest to sack.
No.
Right?
No.
Well, while we're on the Hall of Fame, Mark, I did look up the original class from 1963.
Right.
Because when you tell people, the Hall of Fame and this, you're talking about the Hall of Fame. When you start talking about it, people don't realize it just started in 1963. I mean, you may seem it a long time ago, but I mean, I was alive in 1963.
Yep.
It's it's not like it goes back to the 50s or anything.
No.
So, but there were 17 guys in that initial class. 4 of them were not players. Burt Bell and Joe Carr, they were not players, and neither was there was 2 other guys. I think George Preston Marshall, owner of the Redskins, and Tim Mara were the owners of the Giants. So there was a couple owners in there, a couple of media guys. Burt Bell was a commissioner. And so, but then you had legendary guys. The rest of them were all players. So the 13 players, you had Sammy Baugh, some of the most notable guys, Greg Grange.
Yeah.
George Hallis got in, obviously. We talked about him.
Right.
40 years as a head coach. When they talk about the presidents, there's a clip on NFL Films that says he won his first when this guy was in office, and he won his second when Lyndon Johnson was in office, and X amount and all. But Mel Hine, about Mel Hine, obviously.
Yeah, one of the greatest centers.
Don Hudson, and Curly Lambeau is in there. He's in there, and Bronco Nagurski, and Jim Thorpe.
Yeah.
And Ernie Nevers. Whenever I hear Bronco Nagurski, I always think of that guy I told you about him and grew up near on my paper route there.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, he was. We called him Grady because that was his sister's name, but he's in there. 1921, played for the Hartford Blues, or 26 or 27. I'm sorry. It was the biggest man in the decade, but he lived right down the street here. That was unbelievable. We didn't even realize what we had over there.
Yeah.
But yeah, and there's a picture of Bronco Nagurski here, who. But they brought in Red Grange, kind of. He was more of a college guy, wasn't he?
Yep. Yeah, but he was a big. I mean, he was the biggest name to come. You know, you have to remember that when he came into the NFL was just starting, and they needed a big name like that.
Yeah, no, that's right. 1925, they brought him in, I think.
That's right. And 1963. So that the Hall of Fame opened in 1963. That means the league, the NFL, was already 43 years in existence. NFL started in 1920. That's 43 years of existence before they even opened the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. Imagine that. They had a little footnote here where they talked about Don Hudson. I guess there was now, it's no more of a stat, but it was once a stat called the most records held. He had that at one time. Most records held. They don't have that anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
Don Hudson. That's another guy that Paul Zimmerman spoke about. Don Hudson. He actually flew out to Wisconsin, to the Green Bay Packers training facility, where they had all the old game footage, because it's very hard to get, from way back then, in 1930s, 1940s, very hard to get game footage. So he had to fly all the way out to the Packers training facility, and they let him watch the game footage. And he was watching Don Hudson. He said he couldn't even believe the circus catches that he was making. Like nobody even close to Don Hudson.
No, it was unheard of. Exactly. If you look up his stats versus the other receivers of that time, it's almost you think it was a joke.
Yeah, not even close. Not even close.
No.
So that's why, it's another thing when people, what I don't like when people say, oh, this guy was the greatest of, right away, when you talk about wide receivers, they're going to say, Jerry Rice was the greatest receiver of all time. And I really don't like that, because certainly he was the greatest receiver of his era. But how are you going to compare him to someone like Don Hudson? You can't compare. It was a completely different game. There's no way you can compare the two.
Yeah.
How are you going to say? How are you going to say Jerry Rice was better than Don Hudson when you can't? It's a completely different game, completely different rules. Everything about the game was different. So there's really no way to compare. Right. There's no way to compare.
I got into an argument about, there was a guy talking about, Myles Garrett. He set the sack record. Well, if you look at the play, Joe Burrow goes down kind of just like Brett Favre did. I don't know if you saw the play. Myles Garrett sets this record, but they claim that there's other guys that they talk about Harvey Martin having 23 sacks in 1977. They have them all. You could go on and you could see them all on. They have a list that shows them.
That's a 14. That's a 14-game schedule, by the way.
Yes, and there's other guys too that they claim that could have had it, but they said they went back and they saw that some of them were only half sacks. I think Coy Bacon was one of them.
Right.
Coy Bacon.
Bacon.
And
Deacon Jones.
Remember, he played with the Chargers. He played with the Redskins.
Yep.
Coy Bacon, but
that's right.
Listen, we talked about it. It's very subjective. We mentioned all the things about how people look at certain things, and we talked about Eli Manning. We talked about Jason Witten and how everything just looked at by two completely different sets of eyeglasses.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it all boils down to someone's opinion. And, these guys on the committee, it's not an easy job. Not an easy job to pick through all those names. You start with 60 players, and you got to narrow it down to 8. That's a tough job.
If anybody thinks the Pro Bowl isn't a joke now, listen, they called up Justin Fields to see if he wanted to play in the Pro Bowl. There's a guy that played in 9 games this year with the Jets, 1,259 passing yards. You think you were talking about 1968 here. 7 touchdowns, 1 interception. And this is Pro Bowl. I mean, there's nobody plays or they pass it up. But my question is this. If he actually did play in it, he'd be recognized as that? He's an alternate. That gets recognized as a Pro Bowl?
I guess so.
I mean, I'm not sure. I don't know if it works, but it's a disgrace if it is.
Yeah, well, like you said, once they let the fans decide who goes to the Pro Bowl, it doesn't even mean anything anymore.
No, I mean, it's only a third of the vote. I get it. The fans only count for a third. The other 2/3 are still made up, but still.
That's a lot.
It's influencing it.
1/3 is a lot.
Yeah, it's influencing it.
Yep.
Since it's Super Bowl week, before we end, Mark, I want to talk about my Super Bowl jacket that I put on.
Oh yeah.
And you're familiar with the patches.
That's right.
And I even got the games the Cowboys lost. Yeah. I didn't exclude those. So what do we got here? We got, I think, 12 in this one here.
Yeah. That's 5.
This is Super Bowl 6.
6?
Yeah, is it 5?
It's either 5 or 6. I don't know. 5 or 6.
This is 6. This is actually one of my favorites.
Right.
There's Super Bowl 10. Yeah, it's another one of my favorites. And there's Super Bowl 13. That's a famous one.
That's right.
That was still regarded as one of the greatest Super Bowls ever played. How many Hall of Famers were in that Super Bowl? I forget, but a lot.
Over 20. Over 20. If you include
over 20, right?
If you include coaches and GMs and all that, probably at least 20 players, and then on top of that, you have coaches and GMs and
and these were the real patches. These weren't the knockoff patches. They talked about the glue and all this other stuff. And there's one more, Mark. I don't think I ever showed you this pin. This is a leather coat. I don't wear this all that much, but
that will conclude part 2 of our discussion on the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Hope that you enjoyed it. Thank you, and God bless.
This podcast is part of the Sports History Network, your headquarters for the yesteryear of your favorite sport. You can learn more at sportshistorynetwork.com. Hey there, sports history fan. This is Arnie Chapman, a.k.a. the Football History Dude, and I hope that you enjoyed this recent episode presented by the Sports History Network and were able to learn some good old-fashioned sports history knowledge nuggets. I started the Sports History Network back in 2020 with the mission to help podcasters find a community of like-minded sports history nerds, as well as helping aspiring podcasters to start their own shows. We have a little bit over 30 shows on the network right now covering all sorts of sports history, but as far as I'm concerned, we're just at the toothpick in the ocean moment, that can't even figure it out because there's so much more coming. We wanted to create the ultimate headquarters for sports yesteryear, starting with Podcast Network and our website, but we're going to continue to move into other mediums as well. And here's the cool part, because we want you to be part of our team. So if you're interested in starting your own podcast, or maybe being a guest on one of our shows, or who knows, maybe even writing an article for us over on the website. Seriously, all you got to do is reach out to us on the contact page over at sportshistorynetwork.com. You can be as technologically savvy as a Neanderthal tapping on a stone trying to figure out this whole hieroglyphics thing back in the day. Again, it doesn't matter, because even if you don't understand the whole podcast space, we have a production team that can pretty much help you out with doing everything. All you got to do, head over to sportshistorynetwork.com, head to the contact page, fill it out. That message goes right to me, and I'll reach out to you as soon as I can. But for now, dude, I'm through if you're through.